Well, and it's still got that hook. I mean, to this day, even to this day, if somebody plays that song in a pub, it's everybody singing it like Sweet Caroline. You know what I mean? It's like American Pie. It's like everybody
somehow or
is.
other it carries it.
Yeah.
So my goal that I'd set out worked, and I could tell the first time we played it, hey, this works. And I mean, years went by before anyone mentioned or noticed or questioned, hey man, this song doesn't rhyme like at all. Like it's nothing. And it was actually a guy in another band in England, and he was kind of reviewing the song hits of the week or something. He was like, man, I don't know about this song. It doesn't rhyme. And he's the only person that ever noticed. I thought that people were going to be like, hey, this guy's clever here, because he has hidden a whole bunch, and nobody ever noticed. So, oh well.
Now, if I recall correctly, that song wasn't really one that stuck out for you guys at first. I think you said before it was like number 4 and number 5 on your live set list. Not a prime song, right?
It was just another new song, because we had been together for a little while. We were already selling out places. This in our minds at the time, this was just another song. Hey, it's fun to play. Well, people seem to like it. We'll put it in the set, but it wasn't our closing number,
Yeah.
But people did from the very first night we played it. I could tell, oh, okay, people like that one. We'll keep it in there, because we would just throw away songs if they weren't working through the set. And I kind of I look back on that and wish we had recorded things more, because there are some songs that just faded into nothing.
So after the initial release of the first album, did you guys ever second guess things? I mean, I know for myself, I make a lot of commercials, and sometimes if I don't get a lot of quick positive feedback, I fear I may have missed the mark, but often I just have to give them time. You guys kind of had that slow growing burn, no? Like, I mean, it kind of ramped up.
Yeah, definitely. Because when we had gone on to make the home album, we liked what we had done and everything. And our manager had said, your people that like you have heard this other stuff, but I think maybe you could do a better job of Breakfast at Tiffany's. You need to re-record that probably. And I was like, I've been thinking about the same thing. That was basically like a glorified demo. This is a little bit more real. Let's do that.
Well, plus you guys probably already had some inkling from your live shows that the song may have had some legs, no?
Yes. And we kept thinking too, but mention, going back to what you were saying before about it being a slow burn. By the time we got a record deal, in my head, we were done. It wasn't going to happen. Even we had sold tons of records as an indie. Our manager had gone around to all the labels, and they were like, yeah, it's great. I don't think it's going to work. We got rejected by everybody. And so again, in my mind, it was like, well, we had a great run. It's been interesting, but it's probably going to be over in the next few months.
Now, was that the feeling when you guys were doing Home? Because I mean, Home really kind of sealed the deal and stamped you guys into 90s music history. I guess walk us through the creation of that album a little bit, and what was the feeling like in the studio?
Well, so we had made the 11th song. We played it, for a year, and then it was just time. Well, we made that record. Let's go make another one. So we got a club owner to co-sign a loan for us for $5,000, because he knew, well, if we play one show, if we don't pay him back, he'll just make us play a show and he'll keep the money. So
just work it off.
Yeah. So we made the record for $2,500, paid back the loan too quickly, ruined my credit for a while. But we just went in and it was just another indie record that we made, did it the exact same way, did it fairly quickly. And then didn't really like the way the mix was. So we got Dave Costello to remix it. And then we added Breakfast at Tiffany's. And that's when the ripples started a little bit, But again, even still, it was just another local release. It was nothing. And it wasn't until it found its way onto local radio that we really started selling. And then all those record companies came back around and wanted to sign us, but they still didn't get it. They only were signing us because we were selling so many. We were outselling everybody else, national records in Dallas. So that's why they signed us.
And this is kind of where the story kind of really takes off in my mind. So Breakfast at Tiffany's gets picked up, I think, on one of the biggest radio stations in the area, as I recall. And then if I'm correct, it all kind of started with people hearing the song, kind of in the background during some local radio segments, no?
Yeah. Well, so there's a club in town called Trees. And this goes back to what we were saying before. People went out to clubs. And so different clubs would advertise on the radio. This is who's playing this weekend. And we were a big draw. So they were advertising, Saturday night, Deep Blue something. And as they were saying it, they played a tiny bit of Breakfast at Tiffany's. And people just start calling the station. What the heck is that? What is that song that's on the Trees ad? And so they called our manager and said, hey man, we're adding the song. Like, people won't stop beating us to death about that Trees ad. And we didn't even know what they were talking about. And so they started playing it. This was The Edge. And then they officially added it. And then this other even bigger station, Q102, added it. And when that combination happened, we really started moving some units. And then other stations kind of around started picking it up as well. And there was a point in there that we actually debated whether we should even sign with a major, because it was happening. It's really risky because we had, no capital to push it or anything.
Yeah. And you got to deal with promotion and things. And that's where it really kicks in.
You had to make videos at the time because
Yeah.
MTV still played videos.
Yep. And how surprised were you guys that it was Breakfast at Tiffany's that was the one that was just exploding in popularity? Or once you redid it, did you feel like it was going to have those legs?
We didn't know for sure, but we did know one thing, because a very similar thing had happened out in Lubbock. We had gone there's Lubbock's a college town out in West Texas. Texas Tech is there, and we had never played Lubbock before, and we were counting on our hands. Well, so we know so and so goes here, and she's going to bring 2 people, and then I think she knows this other guy. We were like, there'll be 5 or 6 people there. It's going to be fine. We'll just do our best, and maybe there'll be a couple of other people. And we pull up in Lubbock, and this was a full year before anything happened in Dallas. This was a whole year before. And we're like, oh man, there's lots of people around. That radio station's doing like a remote broadcast. Maybe some of these people will hear us sound checking. Maybe we can get 10 or 15 people there. This is going to be great. Well, what we didn't know was that this college radio station, KXT, for the same reason, because the club was advertising a show of this unknown band and they wanted 5 or 6 people to be there, had played a snippet. Some kid at the college station goes, hey, that's pretty cool. They start playing it. All of those people that were out on the street were waiting to get into our show. And we were just dumbfounded our first time. And it was slam packed. People were passing out. It was so hot in there.
Oh, geez.
And that's when we realized, oh, that's the power of a radio station. These people don't know us. They heard us on this tiny college station, and it's working like a son of a gun. So we had this really special relationship out in Lubbock, Texas, because they were ahead of the curve by a whole year. So we knew what could happen if it could just find its way.
Why do you think people took to the song like they did? Was it that hook, that ability, that sing-along hook? Or when people talk to you about the song, is it because maybe they have some, unintended association with it in some way, even though you didn't write it from personal experience? Yeah,
there's definitely some weird personal associations. I'll tell you about that in a second. I've tried to kind of figure it out because I like it. It's just fine. It's awesome. But I don't really.
It's only our biggest song. I like it. But
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't quite understand it from an analytical point of view.
Yeah.
I think part of it is that the beat and the singing are off time. And I said, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's what makes people want to jump up and down because it's always, you're jumping up on the upbeat. And I said, what about, and it's somehow or other that translates. But for it being a breakup song, so many people have said, oh, that's our song. You know, they've told me all kinds of interesting first experiences associated with that song. And I'm like, it's a breakup song. Like, that doesn't make sense. But sometimes people just associate it with, you know, I don't know, their experiences, it being on the radio and it being loud. People always tell me how, man, I play that song so loud. I don't know. It's just, it's part of their soundtrack, I guess.